celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Friday, February 28th, 2020. And here are some of today's trends in the news. Well, we're starting a little bit early. The Asian markets are closed, down over 3%. Europe markets down over 3%. As we start broadcasting at around 2 p.m. Eastern Time in New York, the Dow is down 900 points. This is the worst sell-off since the Panic of '08 began back in 2007. So things aren't looking good. This coronavirus calamity is rushing forward and pushing the Greatest Depression ahead of time. As you know, I had forecast it would happen around this time next year. That's right, February, March 2021. But I've always said a wild card could change the game. And this coronavirus is a calamity. It's a wild card. And it's bringing down the markets. You're looking now at the 10-year Treasury note is trading at levels not seen in 100 years. The inverted yield curve. For the last 50 years, an inverted yield curve preceded a recession. And we've already had one back in 2019. So this is another one. So it's serious what's going on. You're looking at oil prices. Oil prices now, Brent crude around $50 a barrel. As you well know from the Trends Journal and from our other Trends in the News broadcasts, you're looking now at the energy companies and the energy stocks deep into bear territory, way, way below that 20% mark. They just keep plunging. So what does all that mean? How about all that debt? How about all that corporate debt that's been building up with all this cheap money? And now going into a real slowdown, what are going to be the implications? They're going to be terrible. The market should have sold off anyway. This is making a bad situation much worse. So, ECB plays down chance of rate cut. You know what that is?
Bullshit!
You got it. Bullshit. They're going to cut rates. Gold prices. Gold prices are down some $70. How come? As I said earlier, and in your Trends Journal, again, the Trends Journal, Trends in the News broadcast, you can't get this anywhere else, but we're saying what we're giving you, and we're way ahead of the curve on this. I said in the last Trends Journal that just went out on Tuesday that gold prices should be spiking if this coronavirus is going to have a real long negative effect. But the other reason that's bringing down gold prices, hey, those Chinese buy a lot of them, don't they? And things aren't so good over there, so they're not spending much money on gold. And also, they're taking money out of the gold markets where they're making money, and they're covering where they're losing money in the stock markets. So I believe the gold downturn is temporary, and you know my number. I said the bottom is 1,550. If it goes below that, then look for 1,450. If it goes below that, $1,390, and that's the bottom. But again, even with gold in the 1580s, when we launched the Trend Alert on June 6, 2019, what did we say? The gold bull run. Gold back then was $1,332 an ounce, so it's still up there strong. So, oil prices drop on mounting concerns about global growth. The outbreak is likely to shave roughly 400,000 barrels a day from global consumption. Now, Saudi Arabia, they need oil at around $100 a barrel for their economy to break even. So they're not even close to it. Watch for things to heat up in the Middle East. Remember, when all else fails, they take you to war. China, startups slash jobs and appeal to Beijing for bailouts. More cheap money. They're going to do everything they can to push this up. German economy looks to ward off more contagion. In a blow to local hotels and restaurants, the cities of Frankfurt and Cologne on Tuesday called off 2 large trade fairs. This is going on everywhere. They're spreading fear and hysteria, as I see it, and you know what the motto of the Trends Journal is. Taught to me by my father when I was a little boy. May his soul rest in peace. Think for yourself. This is the way we see it. This is the way I see it. You see it your way. We go by the numbers. Disruption menaces South Korea economy. Again, one after another. Hotels, travel, airlines, one after another. The slowdown is real. And the slowdown began, as you well know, in your Trends Journal. Long before Goodbye Rosie, Queen of Coronavirus occurred, all right? It's all there. The facts are there. European carriers freeze investment and hiring. Airlines in Europe are freezing recruitment and investment in an emergency effort to protect profitability as the coronavirus spreads. Business travel sector left bruised as axe falls on trips. Companies are canceling business travel across Asia and Europe as the coronavirus spreads. Almost 3/4 of companies have canceled or suspended business trips to Hong Kong. Business trips to Hong Kong. I'm mentioning Hong Kong before. You know what they're doing, all these governments? They're taking control. Is this really stopping the spread by quarantining people? By telling them to stay away? You could go to work, but don't go into a bar. Yeah, like they're doing in Italy. What they're doing is, and now you can't go demonstrate out on the streets. You're locked out. You're not allowed to do it. We'll give you the laws on what to do. We're the politicians. And banks restrict travel, cancel functions, warn of slower growth. Banks with heavy exposure to Europe and Asia have warned profits could be hit by the coronavirus. All right. Hey, how many people did HSBC, how many are they going to lay off? 35,000? Banking sector was already in trouble. They're going to blame it on coronavirus. Asia punishes quarantine violators. I mention this because they're going to be punishing everybody. Everywhere you go, you're going to be tested. It's going to be, you think it sucks flying now when you get felt up by the, hey, yeah, it's going to get worse. Again, what's very important to note about the coronavirus outbreak, this calamity, is how the governments are taking control. A police state in every country. You're seeing the details. Infection spread speeds up beyond China as virus breaks new ground. Now, what do we have over here? Oh, yeah, Brazil the other day, the first coronavirus patient. They were in Italy. One person in a population of 212 million people. All right, only a number. The number of people infected with coronavirus has now pushed beyond 81,000 in a global population of 7.7 billion people. 81,000 got the virus. 2,770 deaths. Nothing in the real numbers of, again, how many people? 7.7 billion. And where are most of them dying? In China. Oh, they're lowering the numbers. More died in China. Okay, more died in China. How many got in the UK? Oh, they have 13 cases. Anybody die? Well, they didn't say so here. This is the Wall Street Journal. Belgium, they got 1 case. Germany, 27. Austria, 2. Croatia, 3. Greece, 1. And what else do we have here? Italy, 17 deaths, and they have over 650 cases. 17 deaths in a country of over 60 million people. And when you read about who are the people that are dying, according to the reports, the elderly that already have chronic illnesses. Fear of vast mass homeschooling experiment. Because Japan, schools shut until April. Boy, I wish this happened when I was a kid. I didn't have to go to school. I hated every day of school. Ran away from kindergarten, crossed the Boston Post Road in the Bronx, escaped PS 76, the spirit of 76, at 4.5 years old. I wish this thing hit when I was a kid so I didn't have to go to school. The point that I'm making over here, more homeschooling, interactive view, it's going to be the future. The whole system we have right now is antiquated. You're going to see more and more people learning from home. But again, this is going to put a lot of stress on families. Who's going to take care of the kids during the day when both parents are working? And have to tell you, I agree with President Trump. Yeah, not on much, but on this. Trump said he accused journalists of making the situation, quote, look as bad as possible. He's 100%. The prostitutes love this stuff. You know what happens. There's a hurricane, and they're all dressed up in their hurricane drag. Oh yeah, and the wind blowing the palm trees over, and the water coming over the boardwalk. Yeah. They love this stuff. They love to sell fear and hysteria. That's what they do. Remember what they did with the impeachment process. Remember when I said to you, don't waste 1 second of your time following this, because it's going nowhere. You need the Senate to convict him. He would have to get 2/3 vote against him in the Senate, and the Senate is already majority ruled by the Republicans. It's a waste of time, and the media loves this stuff, and so do the politicians that could make something of it. You ready? I saved this. Most cases of the illness are mild, the study finds. Government officials and medical experts say the warning about the epidemic have also sounded a note of reassurance. Though the virus can be deadly, the vast majority of those infected so far have only mild symptoms and make full recoveries. It's the flu, and it got you. And what does it do? You know the numbers. The flu in 2018 in the United States killed over 61,000 people. More than 80% of the cases are mild, the study found. Of the 44,672 coronavirus cases that were confirmed in China, more than 36,000, or 81%, were mild. It goes on and on. Now we look at it. This is the news. Mexico confirms first case. First case in Mexico. Hey, how many people got killed yesterday in Mexico with violence? 1 case. Oh, and they found somebody in California with it. All right. In the whole state of California, 1 person. And what else do we have over here? Spokesperson for Iran's health ministry has confirmed 34 people have died because of the coronavirus, and they got over 70 million people there. Roughly 28% of people in a poll said they were beginning to cut back on visits in public areas. This is going to hurt business, the hospitality sector, restaurants, on and on. It's really going to hurt. If the coronavirus spreads further in the United States, that could mean bad news for U.S. mall owners. According to a new survey, 58% of the people said they're likely to avoid public places. Fear and hysteria, it's selling. Hey, how about all the poison that they're putting in our food? How about all those GMOs, the F-you-know-whats that are doing to us? How about the preservatives? How about the colorings? How about the chemicals going in the water, into the air, into the earth, into our food? Way worse than the coronavirus. Oh, and by the way, over 300,000 people in China died from the effects of air pollution last year. But that's what's going on. So moving away from Rosie, Queen of Corona, protests continue on Eastern Ireland. This is in Greece. They're protesting the government's decision to build a migrant detention center on one of the islands. What no one's talking about, why are all these migrants fleeing out of Syria, out of Iraq, out of Afghanistan, out of Libya, out of Yemen? Oh, Yemen's out in the news. Oh, only 100,000 murdered by America's favorite ally, the Saudis. Oh, they lost the worst humanitarian crisis on earth. But hey, how about the coronavirus? Somebody died. Oh, no, they didn't die. They got it in Mexico. But that to the Yemenis. Because the prostitutes don't cover that kind of murder. No way, no how. Nowhere. The worst humanitarian crisis on earth. Over 10 million people starving. How about the Ebola crisis going? Forget it. They're only Yemenis. Hey, some Italians died. So, put it back into perspective. No one's talking about the wars. Right, here's another one. Turkish losses mount in Syria. At least 35 Turkish soldiers were killed in northwestern Syria. Again, they're invading a sovereign nation. But this is what the Turks replied from Erdogan's office. The illegitimate regime that turned its guns toward our soldiers will be retaliated against. What illegitimate regime? Who are you to say what an illegitimate regime is? What are you doing in a foreign country? Hey, if America could go to any foreign country that they're not invited to, so could we. That's the Turks. U.S. forces back in Saudi Arabia, the beheaders and chiefs. Yep, our allies, not mine. But that's what they say. Nearly 17 years after U.S. troops largely pulled up stakes from the kingdom. You know how it became a kingdom? Yeah, a princess kissed a frog and the frog became a king. What kingdom? It's a gang that was invented in 1930s. Anyway, central to America's forces mission now in Syria and Saudi Arabia is to prevent a repeat of attacks from Iran, such as the missile and drone strike in September 2019 on Saudi oil facilities. Hey, the Houthis said they did it. Hey, so what? The Houthis said they did it. Americans say the Iranians did it. So let's blame the Iranians. Oh, and again, in your Trends Journal about the lies of an imminent threat when Trump called for the assassination of General Soleimani, the Iranian. One lie after another, but keep the lies going. The people believe them. India sends in paramilitary police in bid to quell sectarian violence. This is that Citizens Act that they put in. Plus the economy is going down real bad. The place is getting out of control. Again, it's in your Trends Journal. We've been covering this step by step, and it's only going to get worse. And as these economic conditions deteriorate, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And remember, when all else fails, they take you to war. 100 million NSA phone program produced only 2 unique leads. They wasted $100 million of our money to come up with nothing. Nothing. The intelligence community, the word intelligence in America's intelligence community is an oxymoron that only morons would believe that they have that much intelligence. Yet they keep stealing our money, $100 million on and on and on for the military-industrial complex to keep spying on us, and these health crises like the corona calamity are going to put more and more government control and restrictions on the people. Moving on to some other trends. Restaurateur withholds rent over Grand Central Station homeless issue. So here in Grand Central Station, this guy's paying what? $50,000 a month rent, and you got homeless people all over the place. I'm only mentioning this because it's one of your top trends for 2020. Homeless and helpless. This thing's going to escalate out of control. There's no way it's only going to get worse as the Greatest Depression hits. And the Greatest Depression is now underway. The facts are there. And it was happening before the coronavirus. They're going to keep pumping more cheap money. Again, as all the data is showing that the Federal Reserve is not going to raise interest rates, as we reported in the Trends Journal on Tuesday. You heard from presidents of the different feds saying they weren't going to lower interest rates. They're going to lower them. They're going to do everything they can globally to juice up this economy with more cheap money. And then what else do we have over here? Talking about cheap money, homelessness. More live on streets in RVs. Across the western United States, rising home prices have pushed more people who can't afford houses or apartments to live in vehicles, including RVs. In Los Angeles, 16,500 people call a vehicle their home. And it keeps going on. These are cheaper to buy than even these trailer parks. People are desperate, and this is going to get a lot worse. And to me, one of the ways to change the course of this is pull all the troops out, cut the military budget by 2/3. We don't have to keep this going anymore, and start putting this money back into building our economy. Because this thing's going to get ugly. And you got ugly people running the show, out of their minds in a country near you. So those are some of today's trends in the news. Again, I believe the coronavirus crisis is a calamity. These are the facts. Think for yourself. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's trends in the news.